The Nightmare Institute, a free introduction to the first course, Poe and the Building Blocks of Horror. And I am Bram Stoker award-winning author Nicole Cushing, and welcome to this introductory video about the Nightmare Institute. Now, for those of you who haven't heard, the Nightmare Institute is going to be my educational endeavor here, where once a month I'm going to be providing a lesson on horror writing via video, and there will be excerpts of them shown on YouTube, but to get the complete 15-minute lesson, you'll need to be a Patreon subscriber at the $15 level. So head on over to Patreon and look up Nicole Cushing and see what's up. I'll also have a link down at the in the notes of the video. But that's kind of the business side of this. What I really want to talk about is the content that I'm going to be offering here. I hate that word, content, but the stuff, the meat of the matter. And the meat of the matter is this first course is going to be talking about the components of the engine that we call horror. And that is important for a lot of different reasons. It's important because if you know the components of the engine, you know what you can fix. You know when something might be absent that needs to be there. And that's my experience with working on stories and novels, is that it's a little bit like tinkering with an engine. It'll either work or not work, obviously. And it will perform at a high level or perform at a low level. Or, so you can work on an engine to the point where it just kind of works, or you can work on an engine to the point where it's really humming, right? I also sometimes think of it as adjusting a recipe or cooking, where it's like you kind of take a taste and you say, needs a little bit more of this, needs a little bit more of that. And so for me, I have certain components to fiction that I think particularly work with horror, and that's what I'm going to be exploring in my first video. I'm not interested so much in the question of what is horror. We've all been to that panel at a convention where we've been asked what is horror, and we've tried to talk about it, and we have these kind of abstract conversations about what is horror. That's not what I'm interested in. What I am interested in is identifying the components of horror that can be used by fiction writers very practically, and how you can kind of assess your own writing using your knowledge of these components. It's kind of like diagramming the engine of horror is kind of what I really think of it as, taking a look at the components, seeing how they work together, and how you can take that knowledge and use it in your own work. And for my money, the best approach to this is to take a look at fiction that really works well. And so in our first course, we're going to be focusing our attention on Edgar Allan Poe's The Telltale Heart, because it's compressed, it's a public domain story. I'll put a link down in the video notes where you can go ahead and access it easily online without paying anything, and because it's a really good story. It's a really good horror story. And it has all the components there that you need for a horror story. Not only are they there, but they interact with each other and they weave together and they bounce off each other in a really marvelous way that gives the story so much power. So I'm going to be providing another sort of introductory video next week with some excerpts from the class for just general folks. But and that's going to be only a couple of minutes long. Really, to get the full experience, you'll need to be a Patreon patron. So that's a little bit more about the Nightmare Institute. Class starts on April 17th. That's a Wednesday. So please join me. I'm really looking forward to this. I love talking about the nuts and bolts of the process. And we'll be here with both Mr. Poe, there with his little raven, and with the building blocks of horror. See you soon, I hope.